Hello and welcome to my very first playing of the cello on this day. I have a goal set for myself to get 200 subscribers. I do hope that I can achieve it before I run out of ambition and take a very long break from trying to get that goal. Well, I have to say I have been rather pleased in the last week or two because I've gained 10 new subscribers. I think it's been in the last 2 weeks. Could have been the last 28 days, but I mean, regardless, that's pretty good for me. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining and coming along in this journey with me. I mean, it's really, this journey is really about playing music that's been forgotten, that's been neglected. Yes, I'm a cello teacher, I'm a musician, and I would love to be able to teach more students. And I'd also like to sell some of the creations I've made, the PDFs, things like that, and earn some ad revenue, which I can't do at the moment. But first and foremost, this channel is really about playing music. I started it for the purpose of being able to stay involved in music because I just was not in any way, shape, or form except a few cello lessons and a few piano lessons throughout the week. So it went from being a pretty good involvement in music to almost nothing. So this is my way of keeping something alive. And I love music too much to give up on it. I know that I am bad-mouthing myself a lot. It's a long history of feeling very inferior in many ways about lots of things. But I just want to keep going. So I'm going to do my best to suppress or to look at the positives rather than the negatives. So thank you for watching with me. I'm going to warm up a little bit and stay. Anybody that pops in for a minute or two to watch, please stay along and just say hi. You don't have to comment very much. Just say hi. It'd be great to see a couple of people just wanting to say something to me. And I'll do my best to notice what's going on and press the like button too. So it's the first thing that I've done on cello today. So I'm a little not ready, but here we go anyway. Yeah. The hand of one who does not play anymore, except for right here. Oh, it's frustrating. It's so frustrating because I love music so much and I just have no way of having an outlet. No. As I was saying, somebody please say hi. That would make my day. Really, really would. These Algos Nook etudes, I think, are really well worth the effort for teachers to get to know. Opus 24. There are 10 of these etudes. Okay, didn't do any scales. I skipped over my scales, so I'm going to do a few of those right now. Yeah. Now I'm going to go over to the Sebastian Lee Etude Caprices. Again, I'm just a lonely voice. I I've got literally nothing behind me, just myself. Nothing, and I keep on saying over and over again, I think my opinion is just as valid as any other person's opinion on these matters. I'm an experienced cellist. I've been a cellist all my life. I have 2 degrees. I've been to quite a number of festivals and camps. A lot of experience, and I've taught hundreds and hundreds of students from beginning the cello at a young age, beginning the cello at a not so young age, all the way through advanced and music majors. These are probably as good. I would I would put my I would back myself up on this 100%. These are probably as good as any of the Popper etudes, as any of the Dotsauer stuff. These are much less dry. The Nulk, August Nulk included. You take any of those Dotsauer etudes, they're so dry, most of them. Now, there's a couple that I think that are quite musical, and especially those Grützmacher things. They just go on and on and on for ages. These are short. They are most certainly in the more virtuosic range, but also I think any intermediate level student play several of them, at least beginning with some excerpts to introduce these concepts. They're well worth the time to get to know. Here's number 3, scherzo. I believe the direct translation for scherzo is joke. But of course, scherzo doesn't really mean joke in the literal sense anymore. So here is a scherzo in a scherzo tempo. This is what happens when you start thinking about lots of things. Got to stay focused. It's in 6/8, so probably a little slow for an allegretto. And since these are caprices, most certainly it's too slow if you were going to perform this. The goal tempo, I would say, okay, allegretto for most metronomes, I think is 116 or 112 is the starting tempo. So a dotted quarter note for 116, pretty fast, but it would sound, wow, dynamite if you could do that. Well, very messy, but I did it. So there you have it. Yeah, now I'm going to go over to Shetki since I'm involved I'm neck deep into Shetki's duets and thinking and preparing for episode 38 of my podcast. Before I do that, though, look at what I've done. I have prepared Broderip and Wilkinson's Cello Treatise. The only copy that I can find really that is free is the old one, of course. I mean, that makes sense. But it's rather hard to read because it's in old font or old style notation. And above all, the scan quality is very poor. Thank you to whoever put that onto IMSLP. It's fantastic that you did it. Unfortunately, it seems like they were in quite a rush to do it, so it's rather hard to read in some places. So I wanted to go through and make it easy to read, and then as a way of raising a little money for my activities here, my YouTube channel, I wanted to sell it, probably not for a really high price. However, it feels like it should be sold for a couple $100 for all the work I put into it. And anybody that's worked on anything can attest to that. You feel like your work is worth thousands or millions of dollars because it's so labor intensive. I'll have the PDF excerpts up soon. I'm going to be working on a little short promo video for it. I'll give you a few screenshots and such. And for now, I think going to my blog or subscribing to my Patreon are the two easiest ways, so you don't have to actually contact me directly, would be the way to pay for and download the PDF. But if you prefer and don't want any sort of mix up or something on my part, because I'm still figuring out how to make my downloads work. I've put some PDFs up on my blog, and it seems like even though I've blocked them from anybody purchasing, downloading them without paying money for them, it seems like people are able to download them. So I'm not really sure what went on. Anyway, here's some Shetki. So duet number 3, Maestoso. just noticed there's a thumbs up. I don't know if you're still there or if the 0 really means you're gone, but thanks for putting the like there. Really appreciate it. Would somebody say hi in the comments? I'm still waiting for a hi. I'm still waiting. Still waiting. There's a poll. Okay. Andantino. All right. Of course, it's not the easiest thing in the world. Again, an intermediate student certainly could wrap their fingers around this. In the preface, he actually says that the student should get to know the second cello part before getting to know the first cello part. And right now, let's take a look at the second cello part. Now, let's take a look at the second movement first, since I just played the second movement, the Andantino. For my money, that's a folksy, Scottish-like tune right there. And I don't know for certain that it really is, but it sure has the the elements of it. Um, I studied just as a byword, as a side word. Somewhere over here word. I took some lessons to learn how to play folk music a couple of years ago, and I took for about a year or so. So I do know a little bit more about it than I used to. Um, and I studied some works, some tunes. What was the Donegal Lass? What was that? It starts out like that. I'm pretty sure. Let's see, what else was it? Yikes! I know it so well. That one. And for my money, it has that element. I think that's a Scottish tune, if I remember right. Something like that. Okay, anyway. The Andantino, this is the second movement from duet number 3, and this is cello 2. Johann Schettke says, get to know this cello 2 part first. It's well within range of the intermediate player. It goes like this slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, you might have noticed already that the bowing seemed a little off, but I'm following it exactly. He doesn't write down bow explicitly, but since it's the first note of the piece, it's pretty much understood all throughout stringed instrument history that you play with down bow on the strong beat with non-gamba instruments, with the violin family instruments, because it's the stronger sound more naturally. More naturally, the stronger sound. But he does write a slur in the second measure. But a caveat here, I do have to wonder if there is a missing slur in bar 1, in measure 1, because oftentimes in his duets, he mirrors what it seems to me 90 to 95% of the time mirroring what is happening in cello 1. And he doesn't write the slur. I guess I could see why he didn't, because he wanted to make it very clear that it was not that it has some what's a better way to put this? Maybe it needed more element of the rhythm, more of a rhythmic element to it, so he didn't slur it. I don't know. These are the thoughts and questions that I have. And maybe it just boils down to the fact that you need to make an effective sound, regardless of the bowing you do. And that I think that's the point of music, rather than being so concerned about bowing. Bowings, I think, they serve the music, right? Wouldn't you agree? If anybody actually listened to this part, would you? This is minute 45. So you could do. And thereby, you could just get rid of any of the possibility for the student to feel confused or not have the characteristic rhythm, I guess, the ebb and flow, the lilt of this 6/8, the compound meter. So if you did, you don't have to do a retake, and there's something to be said about that, but it's pretty minor, because learning to do this is so important. Putting the bow on the string. Why not? So the bow is essentially doing a quarter eighth rhythm, regardless of notes that you're playing. Because this happens frequently. Now, going to the second section, this is the second half of the period, I would say. He repeats the first half, and then he also repeats the second half. So it's like first part, second part, but there are only 4 measures repeated. That makes it 8. 16 measures makes a period, right? Am I wrong? The only thing is this is folk style, so it doesn't seem to have a half cadence. Maybe you don't need it for a period. But anyway, now the second half does present some issues because you've got a dotted quarter note, which makes you do this. He slurs 2, separate on beat 6, and then dotted quarter note, up bow. The second time it happens, dotted quarter, down bow. Third time, now it's not a dotted quarter. The nice thing about following that as it comes is, it happens so fast in this andantino that doing a retake does pose some issues in and of themselves. Those retakes cause many a player to stumble, including myself. So why not? In fact, what I'm going to do right now is write in that I've decided to play slurred in the first half, slur, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I've learned that I'm going to record this one later, and when you do recordings, you just want to be more certain about sound. Sound is so important in music. It seems so obvious, but when you're playing and worried about so many other things, you kind of tend to leave it off and not think about it. But I've grown to really appreciate regularity, consistency when it comes to recording, because you just the fewer choices that you have to make in the midst of recording, the better it's going to come out, generally speaking, because there's so many other things to tend to. So now, in the B section, this is before the minore. So before the B at the B section, we've got a different theme. That's as he wrote it. I can see the merit to this bowing. You play down bow on beat 6 and cross over 2 strings, up bow, which actually has a better chance of executing it cleanly than does, because that is what often you hear, is that clunkiness that happens when you cross over 2 strings or more from an up to a down. So you can see in the lighter part of the bow, even though you have more arc to travel, it's actually a cleaner execution, which is probably counterintuitive. It is for me. But the more I play Shetki and try out his bowings, I try them out and I'm like, really? Does it make sense? Then I do it again and again and again. I do it slow. I do it fast. Do it in different parts of the bow. And it does make sense. I actually agree with it. For a student to do it, I mean, sometimes you think, boy, you want to be consistent, but you don't want to make them think and believe that it has to be done that way. That's detrimental, because music is not about having to do it that way. I really don't think that's the case. If you look at any great performer, one does it one way and another does it another way, and millions of people say that they're both great performers, right? There is a minority of people that say, "Oh, that is crap. Don't do it that way. That's so bad." But lots of fine musicians are like, "Whoa, they both are nice. They do it one way, he does it another way." Now here, we're presented with something totally different. It goes from forte to piano. These terrace dynamics, extreme terrace dynamics. But again, starting on an up bow makes perfect sense because it's a piano. And what happens with students when you start here in a piano section? Usually you get the attack as really loud and obnoxious. So why not? Whoops, there we go. And then what can you do? You've got a whole measure to do a circle bow, put it down on the string before you play, get set. And again, this makes sense in the context of articulation and not making let's say accented sounds. You don't want to accent every down bow, I think, or every downbeat. So if you play this, yeah, put a little emphasis on it, because you're coming back into the thick of the music after a measure of nothing, of no playing. If I find this in the first cello part, actually I need to count it. I didn't mark it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, the pianos. Yes, the piano parts correspond to each other. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first cello part on measure 5 starts this figure. It's exactly the same. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth measure in cello 2 is resting while the first cello part does dee da da ba da, that scalar figure. Then you get this beautiful scales in thirds. It does. And then, right? So, because I was just thinking, because even though it's kind of this imitation, it is this imitation, because it's the same thing. Yeah, I think you do want the second cello part to start down bow. You want it to stand out, because that is actually the melody, while the cello part has the melody and it's continuing on. So it's the second measure of the melody. I just followed the bowing exactly. I started up bow on the piano, and it works. It works. Again, as a student, you have to ask yourself, though, as teaching a student, is it worth doing that with a student? And I don't know. I think it's really a case per case. Is that how you say it? I think it's something you really have to look at on individual levels. Because if you did, that makes sense because your last note is an up bow. You could teach them simply to leave the bow here. But then, of course, you have to think about, am I going to do... There's so many things to think about. I have to argue with myself. It sounds crazy, but I think we all do it. You know what? I've just decided I'm going to do it that way because of recording. I am going to do it this way. I'm going to slur to keep in line with the rhythm, the bowing rhythm. Slur the second half of the measure, so it would come out this way. Down. Down. Yeah, it comes out right. So I think in some cases it helps, if you follow the bowing without making it always down bow on the downbeat. I actually think it helps with the flow and the variety. Certainly it helps with the variety, but I do think it helps with the flow and helps with keeping things lighter in some places because you're playing in the upper half rather than always the lower half. Oh, I did that wrong. I marked the bowing backwards. Yeah, that's more like it. So that would come as a down bow again with that seventh, minor seventh. Down bow again. Yeah. And here's another spot that's very interesting to me because he writes an eighth note. It's eighth, 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 and then rest, rest, two eighth note. Oh, two eighth note rest, two eighth rests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's another spot that is well worth maintaining what he wrote, even with students, because it comes out so nicely in bowing and articulation and dynamic and character. I think it works. And being able to teach a student to do that, I think, pull it, stay, to be able to play up there. It's a long shot, but if these are going to be upper intermediate players doing this particular music anyway, there's no way that you could effectively get a lower intermediate player, generally speaking. I don't think, to be able to do this sort of music. Really cool stuff. Vivaldi from number 5, the sonata. Thanks to anybody that watches this. Appreciate it. Uh, Remember, I am a cello teacher. I've been teaching and I have not stopped teaching, unlike playing. I have taken quite a long break, but not according to my wishes. I have finished also the Broderip and Wilkinson Cello Treatise, and the PDF is all laid out. I think it looks quite nice. One man show, but I believe it's quite easy to read. I tried to stay quite true to the original. I'm going to make a video to promo that soon. And if you want, message me if you're interested. It's not going to be priced exorbitantly high. And there are plenty of excerpts so you can get a real good feel for what it's like. There won't be any surprises, I don't think. Of course, I've been the one working on it, so I don't think there are any surprises. Thanks. Please press like, say hi. Would really love it. Go visit my blog at wordpress.travelingcellojourney.com. Would love to see you over there, and say hi, press like, all of that. Thanks a lot, and have a great time.